Our episodes. We appreciate each and every one of our viewers. Today, we're going to talk about dealing with losses, overcoming losses, because we know every one of us, we can say that everyone in the world has dealt with some type of loss at one point in their life.
Yes, and I think we all have dealt with losses of some type of freedom.
Definitely.
Especially last 2 years.
Yes.
I think with COVID restrictions, we all were affected by this.
Right.
So it affects all of us. So don't say that you don't have to watch this.
Right. Because I think anybody that has dealt with any type of loss, you would want to watch this. Overcoming losses is not an easy thing to do, and sometimes we can't overcome it on our own. Ask me how I know, because I've been there. And I know all of us been at a point where we have lost something that we needed to overcome.
Hold on. So what specifically are you talking about? You said I've been there. So what are you talking
experienced
about?
losses. I'm saying experienced losses. I've experienced losses in
What
many
kind?
ways. I've lost people. I've lost friends. I've lost partner. I've lost a baby. I had a miscarriage before. So there's many things that we have lost. I've lost with COVID the experience of normalcy. I had to have a party on Zoom. Never had a Zoom birthday party in my life. But you experience a lot of losses in many ways. If you lose your job, you may experience loss in the quality of life that you live. And that's happened to me before too. I went from having one income to $40,000 less because of a situation. So that was a big loss because I couldn't live the lifestyle that I was accustomed to.
So which loss was the hardest for you to take?
To me, I think all losses are difficult because I don't like losing, me personally.
See, that's how she is.
Everyone is different. But for me, I would say personally, I do not like to take losses. And I actually don't use the word losses. I say now, I learn something or I win. So for the situations where I don't per se win, I say I learned something from that situation because it's difficult.
So what about loss of freedom during COVID versus loss of job? Which one was harder?
Well, I would say, because for me, when my income was cut, it wasn't actually a loss of primary job because I don't know, you're probably like me. I work like 3 or 4 jobs. I know. I have to find balance in my life
actually
and
does.
do better. So it wasn't a primary source of income, but it was secondary. But it had a lot of bearing on income wise. But for me, COVID, losing that socialization actually weighed heavier than losing income because socialization, being around family, friends, people doing things, that's important in my life. I know in some families that it's not big, but in my family it's big. It's a birthday party. There's at least 60, 75 of us that's family alone. Like, we really value family in my life. So when COVID took that away from me, that was devastated. I became depressed. We were getting together on Zoom. That's when I learned how to use Zoom, the teleconference, phone calls. We just tried so many different things.
That's when she started talking to me,
As she became my therapist. Yes.
Yeah, right? Because we had to meet actually at work at that time.
Right, we had to go.
We simply started talking and talking and talking. And now we are here talking together.
Yes.
Which is just amazing,
yes.
crazy thing for me. I don't know if for you too, but for me definitely.
Yeah, it is. And see, some losses causes gain. So we lost certain things with COVID, but it actually brought us together. So this is a relationship that we gained, because of our loss. So sometimes losses bring people closer together and open other doors. I'm not sure how COVID affected you, but
Well, it affected me a lot. Not only me personally, but when I have 2 kids, So like kids lost time in school,
Yes.
which like they were happy for, but also they have friends in school. So like it was really hard. Then like me with two kids in an apartment, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare, and I don't wanna repeat it.
Many of you saying that as well, our viewers.
Yeah, because people many times try to make things look nice. That, oh no, but like we were all together and like we had some good time. Yes. So then why you were drinking bottle of wine every night? If everything was so great. So for me, it was really hard, and I'm gonna say it openly, it was a nightmare. So that was a loss, but it wasn't that bad, I would say, compared to loss of a person who I loved and who I had close relationship to. And I think you have that in your life too. You experienced that, and that really messed up my mind for a while. That did. I don't know if you want to talk about it or you don't.
Well, I have several
About
close
like
people
losing people.
that I lost in my life. The first big loss of someone I was close to was my grandmother. And my grandmother was actually the person that raised me. So when she passed away, I actually couldn't figure out how I was going to move forward. I was 18. I had just gave birth to twins, and she was always the one helping. She was always the one encouraging me. My son, actually, he was 1 month old, spent the night with her the night before she passed away. So I was in denial for a while, and then I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to move on without her. So my religious beliefs is what helped me get through. I got closer to God, and then I had my children, and they were twins, so I had to be a mother to them, and those are the things that helped me get through. So that was one of the big losses. And then I lost my first love, my high school sweetheart, who was the father of my twins. And when he passed away, that's it. Like me and God, I'm gonna be honest. Why did you do this, God? Why did you take him? Why him? And it was devastating. It took me years before I even started the grieving process. I was in denial for many years.
Now, can you say like how he died?
Yes, he was actually murdered, and he was actually murdered by someone that we knew. Well, two people we knew. Well, we all grew up together, so it was hard. It's one thing, accidents happen, you don't know, but when it's people that you grow up with and they do something like that, it really takes a toll. And not even on that, I was at the hospital. I saw him on the operating table. My children saw him fall. They dropped after he was shot. They saw him drop. They watched through the window. So it was a lot of not only feeling of loss, but it was tragic.
That's crazy.
It was very tragic.
That's so sad for me. So sad. And it happens in your home, in your neighborhood. That's just so sad.
It's really sad in the neighborhood that I grew up with, because I grew up in John Adams projects, and in the projects in the Bronx, this is common, which is really sad. Like there's not like a week go by where someone's not murdered right there in the very streets where they grew up.
Because kids are losing fathers.
Yes.
Just like that, just like nothing. And who raises these kids? Women. And they go through so much. I think this is the hardest thing, really, that you can go through, to lose somebody in this way, somebody who you loved, somebody who was the father of your kids, and that's just a lot, and it should not happen. This just should not happen.
It's true. You're right. It shouldn't happen, and it's really sad that it is so common. Again, I have a member because I pastor a church in the Bronx. I have a member, a young lady that she was in her 30s and she was murdered too. She was shot in the face coming out of a store because she had a disagreement about a cigarette. So it's like, we are living in the times where people just have no regard for life, over not even a pack of, over one cigarette. Her life was taken away tragically. And I want to thank God because the trial was actually recent for this young lady and the individual pled guilty. But it's like, why do we have to go through, these type of things? And why is it acceptable? And again, in some neighborhoods, it's so common. They're like, okay, rest in peace. They put up the candles, they put up the board that you sign on, but they so desensitized because it happens all the time. We have to do better.
So, how did you manage? How did you get out of all this? How did you become such a great person? And your kids too. It's just so hard.
Well, people handle losses, stress, depression, and everything in different ways. So for me, this was what really was like the icebreaker for me. I really got involved in church. This is when I began training and actually became a leader in a church. And this is when the church in the Bronx was actually birthed in 2009 after his murder. The church that I pastor is actually where he dropped. When he was shot, he actually dropped, he collapsed right in front of the church. So me and my mom decided we needed to create a safe haven. We needed to create something to try to make a change in the community. And that's where a lot of my energy focused at, because in the beginning, I'm going to be honest, revenge is what I felt. I wanted to make their family feel what I felt. I wanted their children to not have a father just like my children didn't have a father. I didn't care if his mother had a son anymore because you took away what I cared so much. And you not only took away from me, but you took away from my child. And to see the way that my children didn't sleep, didn't eat, the way they cried, how they threw up because of what the traumatic experience that they experienced with their father dying, it made me angry and it made me very vengeful. But I had to come into a place with myself and know that that's not a place where I wanted to be. I didn't want malice in my heart. I didn't want vengeance in my heart. So
yes,
I got to a point
the breaking
that,
point.
right, that helped. I had to go through the healing process.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you got there. And your son actually, he never revenged, and you told me that he doesn't simply have it. He doesn't want to revenge because many times that's what happens.
Yes.
Son revenges for
father
death,
right.
or brother, right?
Right. Yes.
So, yeah. So it's just so nice to see how you managed it. That it's also really, really bad to see that it is happening.
Yes. And anyone dealing with, that type of loss, even if it's not from murder, you may have lost someone to natural causes through death. It's hard when you care about the person. And I know a lot of time people try to put a time frame on grief. There's no time frame because we all grieve differently. I'm gonna be honest. I'm still grieving, and when every April comes up, because April is his birthday, and then he was murdered 3 days after his birthday. So the month of April is very emotional and difficult for me. But what my family has adapted, we celebrate. We celebrate. We go to the cemetery. We go out to eat. We go, do things. So I hate when someone say you should be over it already. There's no time frame over getting over someone that you feel for, that you care for, that you love.
Sometimes it's forever.
Yes.
And people have to know that it's not wrong if you grieve forever. It's just simply you have to learn how to live with it.
Yes.
And that's the thing. You know, and it might never go away,
That's right.
but you live with it. So, so again, if you need any help, we are here, or there are professionals who can help you. So don't be shy. Uh, don't feel bad about yourself. Just go, seek help, because this is, I think, the hardest thing to go through. It's a loss of a person who you love.
Right, and usually that ends up going into depression. And most of us may not know how to grieve properly, or we do know this, the grieving process and the steps, but when it actually happens to you, you handle it in a whole nother manner because there's just so much emotion and so much going on. So the last thing that we want anyone to do is to fall into a deep depression. Again, we both mental health professionals, so we know the cycle, we know how easy it is to fall into a depression. So get the help that you need. Talk to somebody. If you don't know the resources in your community, ask somebody. If we have a resource, we will be more than free to share it with you. But know that these feelings that you feel, whether it's anger, whether it's depression, whether it's revenge, whatever it is that you're feeling is normal. Allow the process to process. Go through the process. Allow yourself to heal.
You know, I'm gonna say something now, because this just brings me to my patients, and like many times people tell me that people who died are like calling them to like come with them, you know, and it's almost like a kind of like extra worldly experience, or how can you say it? So
Like an out of body
yeah
experience.
yeah
Yes.
So what happened to me, you know, after like working with these people, so my mom passed away. She passed away of cancer, and like it was just terrible experience, and she was in pain. I thought that like when like somebody is on strong painkillers, they don't feel pain. She screamed from pain. She was screaming. She was. It was just terrible, terrible. You know. So I always had this hope that she would make it, and I never thought she would die. Never
Right.
in my life I would think my mom would die of cancer. Die of cancer.
Right.
And then she did. She just did. You know, and then so like these things were happening to me. That like she came like one time or like two times, and like she was like talking something and calling me to like come with her, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was shocked. I didn't know what to do, but like it was so strong, like it was really hard not to do it,
Right.
you know, and like that. Sometimes when you get suicidal, you know, that you simply feel like you want to be with people, or like they are calling you who die, you
Right.
know. And so we deal with this, you know. It's not only you who might have, you know, this experience. We deal with this.
And it's true. I've heard many people talk about dream, because for some people they have dreams where someone they lost close to them have come to them, spoken to them, even let them know that they was all right, or whatever the situation may be. But a lot of times we just like to keep things to ourselves because we are afraid of how people may look at us, afraid of how people what people may think of us. But everybody grieve in their own way. So whatever way you grieve, feel free to grieve in that way. You know, as long as it's not harming someone else or yourself.
Yes, and I want to say that I actually seeked help, and it helped me to work with one professional. So you know, don't be don't be ashamed to ask for help. And I am psychologist, I know what to do, but I won't do it by myself. That's
Right.
the thing.
That's
So,
right.
so I might need somebody to guide me too,
Right.
even though I know what to do.
Right.
Yeah, so,
And she's right. Get the help. You know, we can't handle every situation on our own, no matter how much education we have, how much knowledge, how strong we may think we are. We all need help at some point. So don't be afraid to get the help that you need.
sorry, this wasn't much fun today, but we think that it is important to talk
we're
about these
helping someone.
things that nobody wants to talk about,
Right.
and we help people.
Right.
So thank you very much for staying with us for this long.